Chris, what is our third main topic today?
Third topic, I am going to try to be even keeled, y'all. Just in light of what we just talked about. Steven Santana. Hey, John and crew, it's game day. I know you got a chance to see Morbius tonight and wanted to know y'all's thoughts on it. My girlfriend and I saw it and were disappointed. It's always sad when you go into a movie really excited, but it disappoints. But as you say, all film is subjective, and I want to know your thoughts. Thanks, and bring on the filthy.
All right.
Game day!
Game day!
Couldn't this have been rained out?
Game day! Morbius day was yesterday. Went to see Morbius. Apologies to people who were looking for my out of the theater reaction. I literally just forgot. Like we finished the movie, Ann and I walked out. We started talking about dinner, and then I just completely forgot to stop.
Oh, sure, John.
No, dead serious.
What an excuse.
I just
Come
totally
on now.
forgot to stop. I mean, that sucks because that could have been like a 50, 60,000 view video if I did that. But I straight up just forgot to do it.
Yeah.
So
That's
anyway.
polite.
And it's just as well because here we are. We can now talk about Morbius. All right. You guys know, it's a little bit of preamble here. You guys know that I have been very excited for this film for a couple of years now. I've loved the trailers. I've loved the clips. I think Jared Leto is a tragically underrated actor. I don't like what he did his shit, but whatever. The guy's an Academy Award winning actor. He's completely fantastic. I love the guy. That being said, I've also been very concerned about things that we've heard the last week or two about some of the early reactions and the review embargo lifted only 24 hours before the movie opened. Sorry, 23 hours before the movie opened. And then once it came out, weren't all that great. Even the positive reviews were saying some phrases that made us laugh. And as of right now, as of this moment, Morbius is sitting at a very respectable 15%. I still think there's a zero missing there. I think it's supposed to be 105% rating, but it's missing, so it's 15%. So off I go to see Morbius. And by the way, the audience score right now, with over 500 verified viewings, are saying 64%. So there's a pretty big gap here between what the critics and what the audiences are going to go see. I mean, still not the best score, but not bad. So I went to go see Morbius. It's not good.
Game day!
You don't mean a boo, right?
Boom.
But I will also say this. I did not think it was a train wreck. I didn't think it was all that bad, but it wasn't good. Like, it's not a movie I can recommend people go see. I actually found the first half of the film not bad. I kind of like, this isn't really a spoiler at all. Like the trailers may lead you to believe that when he goes to that cave and the bats come out, you think he's going to encounter some kind of monster, some kind of Nosferatu monster that's going to turn him into Morbius. None of that. It's all science based, which I thought was very interesting. I really like, because the movie starts by showing us him as a child and Matt Smith as a child. And I actually kind of liked it.
I found that to be surprising.
Yeah, It was surprising. It was great. And obviously, I'm always a big fan of Richard's son. And he was in...
Matt Smith?
No, the doctor. Dumbledore's son.
Oh, golly.
Why am I freezing on his name? He was just the star of Chernobyl. He was the main star.
Jared
Moriarty.
Harris.
Harris, thank you. Richard Harris'
Of
son.
course, yeah.
Yes. Put Jared Harris in anything. I like...
Criminally underused in this movie, though.
Yep.
Criminally underused.
Criminally underused in everything, including Chernobyl, even though he was the main star of it. But that whole context, the whole scenario, then we see like he's this world-renowned doctor in his pursuit of a cure. He's been curing other people. It's like, I actually found myself by the end of the first act going, okay, this ain't bad. Let's see where it goes. It just never goes anywhere.
No.
And it just doesn't really do anything. And here's kind of the worst part about it is as the movie's going along, you can tell the pieces are there. The pieces are there. I actually thought Leto was great. I thought Leto did everything he could do in the role as the whatever. I thought a lot of people praising Matt Smith. I love Matt Smith. Didn't love him in this.
I do in the first half.
Yeah.
I'll go there. Yeah, I didn't mind him in the first half. But then I don't kind of like the way he did things afterwards, and I don't know if that's a script issue or just his creative choices and how he played it. And then it just gets, to coin Chris Carr, it kind of just gets really for why. Okay, this happens now, and you're like, why? And then this happens, I'm like, okay, how and why? And then particularly near the climax of the film, I'm not going to give away what it is, but all of a sudden Morbius manifests an ability and a power that you're like, that makes no sense in relation to how this entire rest of the movie set up everything.
Yeah.
Like, at all. And quite frankly, an incredibly anticlimactic ending. Like, I'm not talking about the post-credit scenes, an incredibly anticlimactic ending that is just like, oh, wait, that was it? That was it. And I was like, oh, okay. Not to mention, again, I'm not going to get into the spoiler part of it, but just a creative choice they made about how Matt Smith is in the second half of the film is like, that doesn't seem consistent at all with what we've learned in the first half of the movie. Dr. Morbius has a bit of a love interest in the film. I liked the relationship. I did. I liked it. I mean, not Tony Pepper kind of but that worked for me. That was fine. A lot of people complaining about some of the CGI. I actually really liked the visual style they chose for the film. I particularly like the way we saw it in some of the trailers, but the way the visual images for both his sonar and his movement. I actually really kind of dug the way it visually looked. Can somebody tell me why Tyrese was in this movie?
No.
And that's no knock on Tyrese, by the way. No knock on him at all. Why was that character there? Like, you kept
Both the cops.
both of them. You kept expecting there to be some connection, some relevance. It's like, oh, this is going to come into play later. Oh, look, the credits are rolling. Guess it didn't.
There's one throwaway line of their connection, but you're like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, but even that line I thought was going to lead to
Right?
something, right?
I know.
And it ultimately didn't.
All roads just went down the toilet.
So I'm just like, why? Well, if you know the ending of the film, she's not far off. But I was like, okay, why did they do that? And again, the movie's not terrible. Like, you watch these scenes, you're like, okay, these are competently done. I get it, but they don't ultimately go anywhere. And when you even do get to some big climactic thing, it ends very anticlimactically. And God, I cannot do this without mentioning the post-credit scenes.
Oh.
Because the post-credit scenes, and this is the part that concerns me, the post-credit scenes are not only bad, they represent a horrible decision-making process by the filmmakers involved.
And the studio.
And I include the studio in that. Now, if you don't want to know what the post-credit scene is, and I'm going to guess probably about 80% of you watching this have already found out what the post-credit scene is.
Yeah.
But I'm going to give you an opportunity right now just to mute your computer until we start the next topic. So if you don't want to know anything about the post-credit scene, go ahead and mute your computer. But I cannot do this review without talking about the post-credit scene. All right? You've been warned. You ready? Go ahead and mute your computer. Here we go. The introduction of Michael Keaton and his Vulture, not a bad decision if you got something in mind. That was fine. The first post-credit scene, kind of weird, but okay, fine. The second post-credit scene, Ray, you had asked me once if I thought they were going to use this movie, the post-credit scene, to set up another Sinister Six. To which I said, they won't possibly. They learned their lesson when they did The Amazing Spider-Man 2 about trying to shoehorn and force an out of nowhere. It's like, oh, look, now this villain's here. Now this, oh, let's be the Sinister Six and let's set this all up. And that fell flat. And so I said, no, they're not going to do that because they learned their lesson. Wow, did I overestimate them? Because they didn't learn their lesson. And out of nowhere, by the way, Michael Keaton's character in Homecoming is not straight up evil. He's not a straight up evil dude. I mean, he went the wrong way. He made some bad decisions. He had to be stopped, but he wasn't a straight up evil dude. For them to, out of nowhere, him just show up. First of all, where did he get the Stark tech to remake the Vulture outfit? He just found it, okay. Because remember, in Homecoming, he accumulated this alien tech and Stark tech to make this, fine. So he shows up there, whatever. Number one, how did he, when the law enforcement can't get a hold of Morbius, how did he get a hold of Morbius to arrange a meeting in the desert? And why would Morbius even show up to it? And then just that whole lame, I think we should team up. That sounds like a line a fucking fourth grader would write. And then he says, let's team up. And then they had Cheerios and said, yay.
Let's team up and do some good?
Yeah, I think if we team up, we can do some good. And like, Morbius is not a villainous guy. He's not a bad guy. And again, to me, the most concerning part was somebody at Sony did not learn the lesson from The Amazing Spider-Man 2. And that was a real sour note to me on ending a movie that, Rob, you used the word before we started the show today, watchable. I would endorse that. It is somewhat watchable, though not good, but somewhat certainly not one of the 5 worst comic book movies I've ever seen. But what a sour way to end it. What a sour way to end it. Anyway, without going into spoilers other than the post-credit scene that we discussed, Chris, you've been looking forward to this movie so much. She takes this tip.
Sure is.
What did you think about Morbius?
My expectations were met. So let's talk about what I liked first. In the beginning of this film, I really did like the relationship between Jared Leto and Matt Smith. I thought they had some great conversations. I enjoyed their camaraderie, and I went, oh my gosh, there was a moment where I thought this was going to turn around for me. And then it didn't. From pronouncing Nobel Prize wrong to the wonderful reveal of, you found my bat cage? I thought I was hiding it so well. Like, there were so many things of just, what? Or why? What is happening? It feels like, and this is what Rob and I were talking about before the show, it feels like a 90s superhero film that is not done well. It just feels like a bad 90s superhero film before we had the MCU, the DCEU, all these other excellent comic book movies. And I know it's hard to compare things against what we have right now, but I mean, the look of Matt Smith in parts made me think of Howie Mandel's Little Monsters. Like, the ADR was so horrific.
Yeah, it was bad.
And that's where I was led to think this is a lot of studio interference, because it just, you could tell they were trying to completely cover up bits and not doing it well. They had time. They had time to go back and do it well. That's what I'm so confused about with this one. So I'm just not sure how so many things went wrong. Because that, for me, it's not particularly watchable. It was not the dumpster fire that I kind of imagined it to be, but it still was. My husband and I left that theater, and he looked at me and said, wow, that made Spider-Man 3 look like fucking King Lear. So
I love the comparison.
He's much more optimistic than me. He loves everything. So I almost slept on the couch last night because of making him see that movie.
Rob, you had a chance to go in there and watch it. You saw it last night in a brand new theater that you'd never been into before. What were your basic impressions of Morbius?
Well, the Harkins theaters were nice. The Harkins theater, I was excited. That was like the highlight of this entire sojourn. John, I have always loved vampire movies. And there are kind of two different kinds of vampire movies. There is the science-based vampire film, where this is sort of a naturally occurring thing. I would put into that category the great Catherine Bigelow's Near Dark, which is one of my favorite vampire movies of all time, or The Hunger. Tony Scott's The Hunger, his first feature film. Those are two of my favorite modern vampire movies. Then there's the whole sort of the Bela Lugosi or the Hammer Studios Dracula, where there's a supernatural element that is steeped in faith. So there's obviously the devil exists somewhere, God exists somewhere, and in order to defeat this satanic or supernatural evil, you have to have faith. And that's like a Fright Night, another favorite, more modern vampire movie for me. So I always want to go into a movie looking at this is clearly the science-based vampirism. But then, he flies. And it's just like they wanted to make it more superheroic vampirism, which you could do, which is fine. But it bothered me that I don't really think, this is Morbius, the living vampire. There's a lot of comic book stories with this character. He's had his own comic book. There's a lot of stuff to delve into. And I felt like they were almost kind of embarrassed in a way that they were embarrassed of what they're making. And Daniel Espinosa, I liked the movie Life. He made that movie with Denzel Washington, The Safe House. Was it Safe House?
With Ryan Reynolds.
And Ryan Reynolds, right?
That's a great film.
I like that film.
Wonderful.
I like that film a lot. So he's not a bad director. But it always comes down to the script and the screenwriters. Much as I want to defend Gods of Egypt, I would not say it's a hill to die on. You had the writers from that. I felt that the writing of this movie, like in a 90s superhero movie, was almost embarrassed to be a superhero movie, or that it came from Marvel Comics or a supervillain movie, however you want to. So when I was watching this film, I'm like, I don't feel the filmmakers or the studio knew what movie they wanted to make, which is fascinating to me. X-Men came out 22 years ago, Bryan Singer's X-Men. Since then, we've seen good comic book movies, not so good comic book movies. And if you think back in the 90s, we had Blade, which was good. And I'm like, well, if you wanted to make a cool vampire movie, look no further than Blade. Well, this needed a little bit more Blade in it, in my mind, where it created really cool, there's a whole vampire society and all of that. And there still was supernatural stuff in it. And when I was watching this movie, I was thinking to myself, what is this movie supposed to be?
Yeah.
What am I supposed to take away from it? Here, there's a little bit of a cop procedural. Here, there's a little bit of terminal disease. I'm dying. Here, there's a little bit of familial drama. My childhood best friend. All this stuff none of it worked. None of it paid off very well. It all felt like, and I'm sure watching this movie that there was more to it, and they cut a lot of stuff out. It felt like you were pointing out, Chris, really bad ADR, like last minute ADR. I'm like, wait a minute, what did you cut out of the film? And clearly there was a lot of references that were not in the movie that we saw in the trailer, which was odd to me. Like, wouldn't you want to have those? I just felt that for whatever reason, this movie was overcooked and half-baked at the same time.
I just wish there was some more soul to it.
Yeah, and you know what?
There wasn't a lot of heart to it.
You'd think the great thing about vampire movies is that great vampire movies give their vampires a soul. Mm-hmm. This movie was soulless.
Yeah. Again, I kind of reject the notion that this is like the worst comic book movie. It's
not the worst.
It's not. No, it's not the worst.
No.
But it's just, you know what?
But the tools were there. The pieces of the puzzle were there. They just couldn't put it together.
That's what makes it so frustrating.
Yes.
Because as someone who's dogged on this, watching this have moments that could come together, it was, you were just missing the mark, y'all.
And then
let's get a little closer to that target.
And then to be a continuity guy, okay, so Michael Keaton's Vulture he's like, I don't know how I got here, but how come he didn't get pulled back to his own universe? Like, I'm trying to think about.
No, the bigger question is, what they did in the post-credit scene is not what happened at the end of Spider-Man No Way Home.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, it was not people being spit into other universes. It was others being brought into that.
I know, but that's why I'm watching this. I'm thinking to myself, okay, guys, you've made Into the Spider-Verse, one of the great Spider-Man movies.
You need to wrap up your thought here.
Well, No Way Home. How do you give us something that, as a viewer, I look at this and I'm like, this does not adhere to the rules of one of the most successful movies ever made that you put out mere months ago? How does that work? How does somebody at the studio not look at this and go, guys, this doesn't make sense? How did they let that out, John?
Yeah, don't know. Anyway, guys, end of the day, it wasn't a complete dumpster fire movie. I concur with the notion that Rob brought up that it's watchable, but you'll watch and then feel pretty dissatisfied, I think, at the end. Has its moments, has some good things going for it. It absolutely does. But at the end of the day, this was a swing and the miss. Oh, guys, questions for you. Have you had a chance to see Morbius yet? If so, what did you think about it? Have you not seen it yet? If not, where's your expectation level for it? Whatever you guys are thinking, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Hey guys, we want to take a moment and thank the sponsor of this video, Athletic Greens. Now, I started taking Athletic Greens because I don't eat enough vegetables, and I was looking for a way to make up for that deficit in my diet of those vitamins and minerals that I really need in my system, and thank goodness I found Athletic Greens, and I literally take it every morning. You see, with one scoop of Athletic Greens, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole foods, source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, all the things. And my wife got onto it, and now she absolutely loves it. You know, tons of people take some kind of multivitamin, and it's important to choose one with high-quality ingredients that your body will actually absorb, like Athletic Greens. So right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with a convenient daily nutrition, especially heading into the flu and cold season. It's just one scoop and a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/Campea. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/Campea to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. And a big thank you to the folks at Athletic Greens for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show.